As we wrap up the study of Hezekiah and the narrative of Second Kings this week, there's a measure of disappointment that we feel at the end of the narrative, and that's actually okay. Um, Hezekiah was not perfect. He was a son of David who walked in faithfulness, who pursued the Lord, but he was not the true son of David that would reign forever and ever. That is Jesus Christ. So it's a good reminder that none of us are righteous. All of us have fallen short of the glory of God and are in need of a Savior, and that is Jesus Christ. So when we read this narrative, we see God, we see His faith, we see God step in, but we also it concludes in this kind of unfortunate ending where his pride kind of derails a little bit of his kingdom, and it kind of sets in motion some things that would come about in the future generations, particularly the exile to Babylon. So in this, we see Hezekiah become deathly sick, and he's told by Isaiah that he's going to die. And upon hearing that, he prays to the Lord. Now, his prayer in this section is not as polished as his prayer in the last section. It's not as verbose. It's just a simple, he's calling out with what he has in that moment. And though his verbiage is not as polished as it was in the previous prayer, his faith is still placed in the same person, and that is the Lord himself. He's calling out to the Lord in faith, and the Lord hears his prayer and responds to them. And in this instance, though it doesn't happen in every instance, in this instance, he answers his prayer and he extends his life by another 15 years. And that is a great blessing that God has given us. And I love how Devin has highlighted that in this section is that we see these extra years as a gift, but really all of our years are a gift from God, and we should be viewing all of them with the same attitude of thanksgiving, and we should be thinking about these years that we have with a proper attitude, with gratitude, and also on the other hand, when there's fewer years given, then we should not grow angry towards him. We should be humbly receive what God gives to us in this life. And then we should be warned again by the costliness of pride. This is really just the kind of a besetting sin of Judah, as we saw in the Kings earlier in the narrative. So we're talking about pride again, and it's good to come up because it's a significant sin that derails us. He shows this king of Babylon the entire wealth of the kingdom. He's kind of promoting and flaunting his success before him, and it turns out to be a very costly decision for him and his sons. And Jonathan Edwards has a good message on the costliness of pride and 7 symptoms of undetected pride. As we're talking about pride, and we've talked about it some time and have reflected upon it, we just come to conclusion that spiritual pride takes many forms and shapes, and we seek to, one of the symptoms of pride is that we do not see it in ourselves. So here are some symptoms of undetected pride that we might want to consider that are outside of this lesson, but is still in the topic of what we're talking about. And as we reflect on Hezekiah's life, we think about his pride and what will come about it, but we also see his short-sightedness as well. He has no concern for the coming generation. He's content with the word that you've spoken is good. If there's peace and security in my days, that's a good word. He has short-sightedness in that he doesn't see the value in the next generation, and that's something that we want to avoid as well. Pride keeps you focused on your situation, your circumstances, and your own life, rather than seeking to invest and to lift up those who are coming after you. So when we think of Hezekiah, we can be warned in a couple different ways, but we're ultimately pointed to the fact that he is not the Messiah. There is one that would come greater than him down the road. There would be a better Hezekiah, a true son of David, and that person is Jesus Christ.